Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we
Uh,
take the sources, the articles, the research, the critical interpretations, and, well, we distill them down into the pure, potent essence of knowledge.
Our goal really is to give you that complete picture, but without all the information overload.
And today, we're embarking on a deep dive that I think fundamentally challenges our whole perception of life and death.
It really does. We're moving beyond a simple biography here and into the realm of the afterlife as a structure of personalized learning.
That's right. We are analyzing the allegorical framework surrounding the life and the ultimate journey of a man named Eddie. He was a maintenance man whose entire 83 years were lived out against the backdrop of this aging, sometimes spectacular amusement park called Ruby Pier.
And the central philosophical question that the sources we've collected pose is just incredibly profound. What if the moment you die is not a transition to some eternal, placid rest, but the beginning of an intense, personalized course of instruction?
Right. What if heaven's only purpose is to grant you the understanding, the full context of your life on earth?
Specifically through the 5 crucial intersections that really shaped your path.
So our mission today is for you, the learner, to walk away with more than just a summary of a life. We want you to grasp the 5 surprising, interconnected truths that defined Eddie's existence and, how those truths reveal that no life is ever truly lived alone.
To really understand the beginning of this journey, we have to start at its end.
Okay.
The sources, they paint a very clear, very poignant picture of Eddie at age 83. He was a man of routine, a physical decline, really defined by that white hair, the barrel chest that hinted at a strength long gone,
And that leg.
and the constant throbbing complaint of his ruined left leg, a souvenir from his time in the war.
He was the ultimate working man, wasn't he? Identified only by that Eddie maintenance patch on his faded uniform.
Absolutely. His entire world was Ruby Pier. He knew the sounds of the park, the screech of the seagulls, the distant roar of the ocean, and most importantly, the mechanical language of his rides.
The spits, the stutter.
Yeah, that unhealthy thrumming, that signaled trouble, he knew it all.
And that trouble arrived on his 83rd birthday at the new Freddy's Freefall Tower drop.
It did. A cart carrying 4 passengers had jammed, tilted just precariously at the very top. And Eddie, cane in hand, keys jangling, he was the one coordinating the rescue.
Now, the sources reveal this fascinating and frankly kind of cruel twist of fate that led to the accident.
It's incredible. The main cable started unraveling, scraping across a pulley that was locked, wedged tight by a seemingly random object that had fallen months earlier.
And what was the object?
Get this. The sources confirm it was a single car key,
A car key.
dropped by a young man named Nicky, who was just, enjoying the thrills of the ride. And this detail is so crucial. It links the vast, unpredictable chaos of the outside world, dropped key, to the fatal, precise breakdown of Eddie's very controlled environment.
So as the cable snapped, the cart just plummeted.
Like a boulder off a cliff is how one source describes it. And Eddie, lunging to intervene after the passengers were safely unloaded, had only one final, desperate thought.
Get back.
Exactly. Screamed at the crowd just moments before impact.
In that chaotic final fraction of a second, the sources describe an image that haunts him, that follows him into the next life.
He saw a small little girl, she's referred to as Amy or Annie, sprawled at the base of the ride, just frozen in terror.
And Eddie instinctively dove forward, dropped his cane.
He felt 2 small, surprisingly strong hands, and this is key, they were not the girl's, but other hands in his own, just before the impact and that blinding white light.
So let's unpack this allegorical structure that guides the rest of our discussion. This version of heaven is not the traditional cloudscape, not at all.
No, it's a series of personalized settings. It's a curriculum designed specifically for Eddie's soul.
That's the critical distinction, isn't it? Heaven is not a reward just handed down.
It's a puzzle to be solved. The sources argue that the ultimate gift is understanding, and that peace only comes when you comprehend the precise, interwoven meaning of your time on Earth.
And this knowledge is delivered through 5 people.
5 people. Some loved, some known, some were total strangers. But they were in your life for a reason, and you altered their path, just as they altered yours. Each encounter is a step, an instruction, and each setting reflects an emotional or physical state from Eddie's life.
Okay, let's dive into part 1. The accidental collision, the blue man. So Eddie's transition is immediately characterized by color and this striking absence of suffering.
Yeah, he finds himself floating, just detached, moving through an intense, cycling color palette: pumpkin, turquoise, lime, grapefruit, sapphire.
It's a sensory overload.
It is, but it contrasts so sharply with the utter calm he feels. His mind is smoky, wisp-like, just incapable of worry or pain.
But his consciousness is fixated on one singular, overwhelming question.
Did I save her? Does she live?
He crashes down, metaphorically speaking, into the ocean, and then awakens in this pristine, picture-perfect version of Ruby Pier from the 1920s.
It's a world of canvas tents, the loop-the-loop, the original beautiful white Ferris wheel. This is the pier of his childhood, before the war, before his wounds, before all those decades of mundane maintenance work just hardened him.
And here's the first structural irony. While his external appearance is still that of the squat old maintenance man.
His internal physical self is completely reversed.
How so?
His bad leg doesn't throb, his back is straight, he feels limber. He runs for the first time in 60 years, feeling like a rubber man. He's reverted to the physical state he held when he first knew this place.
This whole emotional and physical reset, it's designed for encounter one, the Blue Man.
Joseph Kowalczyk, yes. Eddie is drawn into the old sideshow, the world's most curious citizens, and he sees Joseph Kowalczyk naked from the waist, up sitting on a stage, his skin this striking, unsettling shade of gray-blue.
The Blue Man's origin story is just. It's essential to understanding the lesson here.
It's tragic. He was a Polish immigrant, terribly sensitive and nervous, and he carried this deep shame from an incident where he wet his pants at the factory where he worked.
And desperate to treat his anxiety, he sought medicine.
From a chemist who gave him silver nitrate?
Wait, silver nitrate? Is that what?
That's it. The sources describe how Joseph, in his anxiety, just kept increasing the dosage, believing he wasn't taking enough, until the silver nitrate permanently stained his skin.
And this disfigurement led to him losing his job and becoming a sideshow spectacle.
A commodity, as the source puts it, at Ruby Pier. It's just a tragic story of shame compounding a physical deformity, leading to a life of total isolation.
And when Eddie finally gathers the courage to speak, he asks, "What killed you?"
And the Blue Man delivers the first shocking truth of Eddie's heaven. He just says, "You did."
Wow.
Oh.
So the sources confirm that the first person Eddie meets, the person destined to teach him the fundamental lesson of his existence, is someone he accidentally killed as a 7-year-old child.
That's the startling narrative symmetry.
It's the ultimate expression of the source material's central argument about this, karmic connection.
It is. The Blue Man explains that Eddie, 7 years old on his birthday, was happily chasing his new baseball into the street behind the sideshow tents.
And the Blue Man was just learning to drive.
In a borrowed Ford Model A, and he swerved violently to avoid hitting the child.
And the stress of that near collision.
Coupled with his already weak heart, which was likely exacerbated by the silver nitrate poisoning, it caused him to lose control of the car. He eventually crashed into a parked truck in an alley where he died of a heart attack shortly afterward, completely unnoticed by the chaos of the pier.
So Eddie, reacting with this, understandable human horror and a sense of justice, he argues.
He does. He says, "Why should you have to die on account of me? It ain't fair." He's looking for some kind of cosmic balance.
But the Blue Man reminds him that balance is just a construct of our desire for order.
And this is where we get the first lesson, connection. The Blue Man's answer to Eddie's plea for fairness is chillingly direct. He says, fairness does not govern life and death. If it did, no good person would ever die young.
So what's the core concept here?
It's absolute. There are no random acts. That we are all connected. That you can no more separate one life from another than you can separate a breeze from the wind.
It's a lesson that forces Eddie to accept that his own life, from that day forward, was founded on the tragic, accidental death of this total stranger.
It completely recontextualizes Eddie's entire life. He felt useless, forgotten, invisible.
Yet his simple childhood act set off a chain reaction that ended one life and secured the continuance of his own.
Right, and to reinforce this concept, the Blue Man shows Eddie a vision of his own funeral. It's attended by various people, mostly strangers, who just felt this intrinsic pull to be there.
And this is the critical nugget, right?
It is. The human spirit knows, deep down, that all lives intersect. That death doesn't just take someone, it misses someone else, and in the small distance between being taken and being missed, lives are changed.
It's such an elegant philosophical device. The source implies that our subconscious recognizes these ripple effects, even if our waking minds are too focused on our own, internal narrative.
Precisely. And when Eddie laments that his eventual death at the pier was a waste, just like his life, the Blue Man offers this essential transitional thought.
What's that?
No life is a waste. The only time we waste is the time we spend thinking we are alone. That sense of solitude, the source implies, is the ultimate illusion we carry on Earth.
And as the Blue Man transitions, the symbolism is so powerful.
It is. He allows Eddie to feel his entire life, the loneliness, the shame, the physical pain of his death before pulling back. And his skin instantly transforms from that grotesque gray-blue to the loveliest shade of caramel, smooth and unblemished.
Signifying the peace he achieved through understanding his place in that chain of connection.
And with that peace secured for Joseph, Eddie is whisked away, soaring above the ocean. But the central question that brought him here is still completely unanswered.
Did I save the little girl? The contrast here couldn't be starker. Eddie's moment of realization about connection is immediately followed by this sensory shock that throws him directly into the emotional setting of his greatest drama.
We move from the sapphire of the childhood peer to part two. The cost of control, the captain,
And the environment shifts violently.
to a war-torn, scorched landscape, the Philippines during World War II. The color palette is charcoal, gray, and black. We see blackened rubble, fallen trees, a sense of just utter destruction. The whole sensory experience is designed to strip away the tranquility Eddie just found.
And his physical state mirrors the trauma.
Exactly. The limberness and joy of the child's body are gone. His muscles tighten. He runs with the hard, measured steps of a soldier, instinctively crawling along the mud.
And the pain in his leg returns.
The searing, debilitating pain in his wounded leg returns. He is forced to relive the environment and the physical consequence of his war experience.
He's led to a solemn marker. A soldier's grave.
Indicated by a rifle dug into the earth, a helmet on top of it, and dog tags hanging from the grip. And those tags are his own. He realizes fear, a sensation that was absent in the first step, has returned to anchor him to this traumatic memory.
So, encounter 2 is the captain.
His former commanding officer, sitting patiently in the immense darkness of a banyan tree. The captain, he's characterized by his lanky build and prominent chin, and he embodies this concept of military leadership built on just one unbreakable commitment.
It didn't leave you behind.
That's the one. And we revisit the harrowing details of Eddie's captivity. The bamboo barracks, the relentless demand of scraping coal in the mine, the meager rice balls.
The war experience, as the sources describe it, it stripped the men of their individuality.
Reduced them to surviving the brutality of their four captors, who the captain simply labeled Crazy 1 through Crazy 4.
It was a brutal environment that destroyed Eddie's faith. The execution of Rebozo,
The young redhead.
who was simply shot in the head in the mine shaft after falling ill. That moment extinguished Eddie's sense of prayer and hope.
From that moment on, his sole focus shifted from survival to cold, unadulterated revenge.
And the captain's philosophy provided the men with a lifeline.
He advised Eddie, in the middle of a war, you have to search for a small idea to believe in, and then you hold on to it like a crucifix. For the captain, that idea was his promise.
No one gets left behind.
That promise, he explains, provided the framework for every difficult decision he made, including the one that defined Eddie's life.
The escape was planned, but executed in this burst of furious improvisation.
And Eddie used his peer trick-juggling large rocks to distract Crazy 3. This initial diversion led to chaos, and Eddie and the men seized their opportunity.
Fueled by that desire for vengeance for Rebozo, they systematically destroyed the camp.
Using stolen flamethrowers and grenades, Eddie, focused on eradicating any evidence or any reminder of the brutality, aimed the flamethrower at the last hut, a large nipa barn.
But as he squeezed the trigger, he saw something.
A flicker, a shadow darting across the entrance. He froze, convinced that something innocent was being burned to death in front of him. He dropped the weapon and plunged headlong into the inferno.
And here is the revelation that causes Eddie to just lash out. The captain confirms the life-altering truth.
I shot you. He was the one who shot Eddie in the leg, creating the permanent disability that defined his entire subsequent civilian life.
And Eddie is overwhelmed by decades of resentment.
He physically attacks the captain, pummeling him on the muddy ground, screaming about his ruined mobility, his lost career as an engineer, the life he felt was stolen from him.
But the captain delivers the truth calmly.
I took your leg to save your life. Eddie was in a rage spiral, determined to enter that fully engulfed hut, which the captain knew meant certain death. He made a brutal, instantaneous calculation. A wounded Eddie is a living Eddie.
And then the final, terrible piece of the puzzle.
The captain reveals his immediate death. After dragging Eddie out and ensuring the transport vehicle started, he ran ahead to clear a makeshift gate.
And stepped directly onto a landmine.
He was killed instantly, blown 20 feet into the air and split him into pieces.
The irony is just wrenching. The captain fulfilled his promise, saving all his men at the exact moment he died.
Which brings us to the second lesson: sacrifice.
I find it incredibly difficult, and I imagine you, the listener, do too, to accept the source's definition of sacrifice when the cost to Eddie was so fundamentally high. I mean, the laws of mobility, the career dreams, the ability to run and dance. The concept of sacrifice seems almost indistinguishable from regret from Eddie's perspective.
And that is the crucial analysis the source material forces upon us. The captain explains that sacrifice is not a regret, but an aspiration.
So regret focuses on the loss.
While aspiration focuses on what was protected and passed on, the captain sacrificed his life so that his men and Eddie would not drive over that mine, allowing them to live.
It's reframing the narrative, isn't it? Eddie focused on the loss of the leg. The captain redirects that focus to the preservation of the life.
He explains that sacrifice allows you to keep your highest promise. For him, it was no one gets left behind. The core of this lesson is that sometimes when you sacrifice something precious, you are not truly losing it.
You're just passing it on to someone else.
Exactly. The leg was the price of the life that allowed Eddie to continue his destiny at the pier.
And as Eddie accepts this truth and forgives him, the environment immediately transforms.
The scorched earth just melts into a pure, unspoiled, beautiful island scene. The captain's wish for a world without war, realized in his personal heaven.
And the transition is smooth. The captain hands Eddie his dog tags and helmet.
And inside, Eddie finds a crumpled photo of Marguerite, his wife, guiding him toward the next stage. But that central question still remains unanswered.
Did you save the girl at the pier? So Eddie has now processed connection and sacrifice. He's still wrestling with the physical and emotional scars of his life, which brings us to part 3, the curved blade ruby.
And this is where the narrative uses the physical setting and Eddie's decaying body as this explicit metaphor for his emotional state.
He's transported to a stark mountain range with jagged, unforgiving rocks, snow, and a deep black lake. A cold, isolated environment.
And his body reflects further decay. He's older, showing the flabbier midsection, the stiffness and persistent pain in the bad leg. The sources imply he is forced to see himself as he aged on Earth, scars, fat and all.
Because he is preparing to address the deepest source of that decay, his lifelong corrosive anger.
The only structure in this desolate scene is a stainless steel boxcar diner with a neon sign blinking "Eat." And inside, Eddie experiences a devastating, immediate emotional shock.
He sees the figure of his father smoking a cigar in a booth. And Eddie, just desperate for the validation he never received, he screams, "Dad! Dad! Dad!"
But the figure is a phantom, unable to hear him, merely a background element in someone else's eternity. And Eddie is stung again by the denial of a man whose love, almost inexplicably, he still coveted.
His guide in this isolated step is encounter 3, Ruby.
An elegant, older woman who was the namesake of the park itself. She was a waitress at the Seahorse Grill before marrying Emil, the wealthy, risk-taking builder who constructed Ruby Pier as a magnificent monument to her.
So Ruby's story is interwoven with the very foundation of Eddie's world.
Completely. Emil created the grand park with its lights, its towers and spires. He even painted Ruby's face on the entrance dome as this grand gift of love.
But the park's destruction, a massive fire accidentally started by some roustabouts using fireworks, it broke them.
It did. Emil lost his fortune and his health when a support column collapsed on him as he desperately tried to save the park.
And Ruby reveals that this tragedy led to her secret, lifelong wish.
That the pier had never been built at all. The pier, built out of love, became this nexus of tragedy. Her tragedy, Emil's destruction, and Eddie's life being perpetually stalled there. Her heaven, the cold, distant mountain range, reflects her wish to be as far from the seaside chaos as possible.
So Ruby serves a unique function here. She is the objective third-party witness to Eddie's father's final days.
And she corrects Eddie's entire understanding of the man who tormented him.
Because Eddie had long believed his father was just a violent drunk who died in his sleep from pneumonia.
Right. But Ruby, whose own husband, Emil, was in the hospital bed right next to Eddie's father, reveals the true, complicated story of his death.
And Eddie is given a vision of the past.
He sees his father walking into the apartment and finding his friend Mickey she drunk and fired grabbing Eddie's mother. The father, a man prone to rages, leaves, enraged, carrying his ball-peen hammer.
And the expectation is that he's going for revenge.
But the narrative just pivots dramatically. The father chases Mickey down to the north point of the pier, intending violence, but finds Mickey stumbling drunkenly and then plunging into the churning cold ocean.
And in a final desperate act of this complex loyalty, or maybe deep-seated regret over years of neglect, Eddie's father jumps in.
He immediately jumps in and fights the waves and the drunk man to pull Mickey back to shore.
So it was this heroic, self-sacrificing effort, the exposure and the exertion, that caused the severe pneumonia that eventually killed him at age 56.
Ruby confirms it. The father died not because he was a cruel man, but because of loyalty. A loyalty that superseded his immediate rage and betrayal.
And the final heart-rending detail is what Ruby witnessed in the hospital.
Eddie's father died alone, rising from his bed after his wife left, staggering to the window and calling out not for forgiveness from God, but for his family and for Mickey. His heart was spilling out, Ruby states, all the guilt and regret.
But the nurses, they feared repercussions for not watching him, so they fabricated the story that he died quietly in his sleep.
And this revelation just shatters Eddie's lifelong villainization of his father.
This is the foundation for the third lesson, forgiveness.
Rudy explains that hatred is not an external weapon. It's a self-inflicted wound. Holding on to anger is a poison. Hatred is a curved blade, and the harm we do to ourselves. Eddie needed to forgive his father for the neglect, the violence, and the ultimate binding silence.
And Ruby's insight into the father's silence is key here. It wasn't just maliciousness.
No, it was shame. Shame over his own violence and his inability to reconcile the years of his abusive behavior with his final act of salvation.
Eddie realizes he had used his father's story as an excuse for his own stagnation, believing he was stuck at Ruby Pier because of his father's death.
And Ruby delivers the critical, clarifying nugget. Your father is not the reason you never left the pier. It was Eddie's own anger and inability to let go of the past that kept him bound to that place.
With this understanding, he kneels before the ghost of his father in the diner booth, not asking for an answer, but offering closure.
It's fixed.
The moment the poison of his hatred is flushed out, the cold, stark setting of the mountain melts away, signaling he is ready for the warmth of the next step.
Having shed the weight of anger and gained forgiveness, Eddie now moves toward the emotional anchor of his life, his wife, Marguerite.
And we transition into part 4, Memories as a Partner, Marguerite.
The environment completely shifts to this vibrant, emotional world. A series of endless, joyful wedding receptions spanning the globe. Italian villages, Swedish halls, African ceremonies, Chinese festivities. It's a place celebrating hope, new beginnings, and the infinite possibility of love.
And Eddie's body is changing again, reflecting the time when he lost his wife.
He's closer to age 47, thinner skin, drier, the droop of age, and his bad leg is stiffer. He's forced to confront the physical decay that paralleled his emotional decay after her death.
He steps through the various doors of celebration, and then he sees her.
Encounter 4. Marguerite. She is young, wearing a lavender bridesmaid dress reflecting the vibrant life and hope they shared before tragedy struck.
And at the sight of her, the emotional dam just breaks. Eddie's entire body shakes, and he finally releases the tears he has been holding back since his death.
It confirms that this woman, the one he lost too soon, remains the true emotional anchor of his life.
Marguerite explains that her heaven is the world of weddings, celebrating the hope and possibility embedded in that moment when the groom lifts the veil when the bride accepts the ring.
It's a heaven dedicated to the celebration of new love, reflecting the vibrant, hopeful nature of their own marriage.
But the shadow of their shared tragedy looms large. They discuss the car accident that irrevocably altered their future.
Specifically, the plans for adoption, which was their greatest shared dream.
The accident occurred on Eddie's 39th birthday. He was gambling at the racetrack, ignoring her calls to come home.
And Marguerite, in her frustration, drove to the track to find him, passing beneath the Leicester Street overpass.
And the sources reveal another one of these fascinating details that circles back to the Blue Man's lesson.
Seemingly random acts of cruelty or carelessness have massive repercussions. 2 bored teenagers were dropping empty bottles from the overpass. An empty whiskey bottle smashed Marguerite's windshield,
The impact caused her to veer into a divider, and she suffered a severe liver injury.
resulting in 6 months of bed rest. The costs and delay associated with her recovery meant they lost the adoption they had worked so hard for, and Eddie's temporary high of winning $800 was immediately dwarfed by the permanent loss of their future child.
That accident became the unstated shadow between them, though they rarely spoke of it.
And then they address the eventual terrible end. 3 years after the crash, her uncontrolled hand stretching open while she was cooking, the first sign of the aggressive brain tumor that killed her at age 47.
Their final hours were defined by agonizing detail.
The sympathetic nods of the doctor, the drive to the hospital where Marguerite looked at the Ferris wheel and just said, "Oh, oh." Eddie's inability to let go meant he was fixated on the act of hanging on to her rather than letting her go with peace.
This confrontation leads to the fourth lesson: love.
Eddie confesses his decades of anger not at her, but at the unfairness of her leaving him too soon. He felt he had lost the only woman he would ever love, and he just couldn't move past that loss.
And Marguerite offers this profound realization that fundamentally changes how the Source views enduring relationships.
Lost love is still love, Eddie. It takes a different form, that's all.
But I want to pause here. The Source suggests that memory becomes your partner. For someone who has spent decades paralyzed by grief, isn't that just a romanticized version of stagnation? How can the Source claim this is a lesson in moving forward?
That's a necessary challenge, and Marguerite's response clarifies the Source's intent. She explains that when the physical senses weaken, memory is all that remains, and it must be nurtured, held, and danced with.
So it's not about stasis.
It's not. It's about transforming the nature of attachment. The physical life ends, but the love, which is a spiritual entity, does not. Life has to end. Love doesn't.
And the power for presence is immediate validation for his feelings.
She confirms she felt his love, even in her heaven, simply because that's how strong lost love can be. This assurance allows Eddie to finally confess the words he couldn't say in life. I was still in love with you.
The climax of their reunion is perhaps the most selfless moment in their interaction. Eddie asks her to change her appearance.
Acknowledging her hesitation, she wasn't so pretty at the end.
But he demands that she change to the way she looked just before her death at age 47, accepting all of her, the decay, the pain, the scars of their life together, proving that his love was not just for the youthful memory, but for the entire woman.
They dance to You Made Me Love You, and Eddie finally admits his deep yearning. I don't want to go on. I want to stay here.
When he opens his eyes, he holds only the shape of her, and she is gone, leaving him prepared for the final step toward understanding his purpose. We arrive at the final, most devastating and ultimately most redemptive step in Eddie's journey.
Part V, the hidden purpose, Tala.
This step begins with sensory deprivation, a return to the isolation that defined his fear.
He is enveloped in pure, blinding white, broken only by a high-pitched, irregular shriek, a sound he instantly recognizes from his most persistent, darkest war nightmares.
His body is now near its end state, the final manifestation of his age. Liver spots, yellowish nails, a shingles rash, the image of him leaning heavily on a cane.
He has reached the end of his physical accounting.
The blinding white dissipates, revealing a serene river embankment, and the shriek is revealed to be the joyful, chaotic cacophony of thousands of children splashing and playing in the water.
Completely unsupervised by adults.
Encounter 5 is Tala, the Filipino child. She is tiny, perhaps 5 or 6, with a cinnamon complexion and hair the color of a dark plum.
She introduces herself using Filipino words: baro, blouse; saya, woven skirt; bakya, clog shoes; sundalong, soldier, anchoring the scene directly to the site of Eddie's greatest guilt.
And Eddie attempts to connect using his familiar, mundane skill.
He pulls out pipe cleaners, which he always carried at the pier, and twists them into a small dog, a comforting gesture he'd performed countless times for children.
She accepts the gift, smiles, and then delivers the shocking line that rips the final bandage off his soul, confirming his deepest, most agonizing secret.
You burn me! You make me fire!
She was the shadow.
She is the shadow he saw darting inside the Nipa hut in the Philippines. In his desperate, vengeance-fueled attempt to destroy evidence and exact revenge for Rebozo, he accidentally killed this innocent child.
And this accidental murder was the source of the lifelong darkness, the bad dreams, the sense of failure that plagued him.
The emotional weight of this is just immense. Eddie collapses, wailing the confession that was locked inside him for decades. I killed you. I killed you. This moment is his complete, unadulterated spiritual surrender to guilt.
And Tala, in her profound innocence, asks him to wash her.
She steps into the river, revealing horribly burned, charred skin on her torso and face. She hands him a stone, asking him to use it like our Innis used to do, referring to the practice of scrubbing clothing or skin in the river.
And Eddie, trembling, uses the stone. This act is the mechanism of his cleansing.
As he rubs her charred skin, it peels away, revealing her beautiful, unblemished child's body underneath. The physical act of washing away the mark of his guilt restores her and, simultaneously, cleanses his soul.
Kala then addresses his life's long-standing lament. When she asks why he was so sad, he gives that familiar answer.
I was sad because I didn't do anything with my life. I was nothing. I accomplished nothing. I was lost.
And this is the setup for the fifth lesson, meaning
Tala, the life he took, explains the purpose of the life he lived. She confirms that his job at Ruby Pier, the mundane, unglamorous work he dismissed as a waste, was sacred.
children. You keep them safe. You make good for me.
The irony here is so profound. The man who believed he failed to protect the innocent in the war spent his entire subsequent life unknowingly fulfilling that precise purpose through routine maintenance.
She confirms his existence with two simple, powerful words, pointing to his uniform patch.
Eddie maintenance. The failure to become an engineer or a hero was completely irrelevant. He was exactly where he needed to be.
And then comes the final spectacular twist, the answer to the question that tormented him from the moment of his death.
Did he save the little girl, Amy or Annie, at the pier?
Tala confirms that he did. He didn't pull her, but pushed her out of the path of the falling cart. He succeeded in keeping her safe.
But the two small hands he felt were not the girl's hands.
This is the full cyclical revelation.
Not her hands. My hands. I bring you to heaven, keep you safe.
So Kala, the child he accidentally burned to death in a moment of rage, had used her hands to guide him out of the path of the falling cart.
Ensuring his death occurred precisely at the moment he fulfilled his life's purpose, protecting a child at Ruby Pier.
The lesson connects seamlessly back to the Blue Man's message of non-randomness. Kala's act ensures Eddie's death was not a waste, but the culminating, necessary act of a purposeful life, a life spent in atonement and protection for a past mistake he didn't even know he committed.
As we synthesize these 5 crucial encounters, we see the complete tapestry of Eddie's life, transforming what he saw as ordinary into something deeply, deeply significant.
The 5 major themes delivered by the 5 people whose lives intersected with his, they provide the final framework for understanding our own impact. First, from the Blue Man.
Connection. No random acts. Every life is interwoven, and our existence is always predicated on the actions and paths of others.
Then the captain taught him about sacrifice.
That it's not a regret over what is lost, but an aspiration for what is passed on, the promise you keep.
And
Forgiveness. Hatred is self-inflicted poison. The curved blade damages the wielder, and peace requires forgiving not just others, but the truth of your past.
then, of course, Marguerite.
Eternal love. Lost love still endures. It simply transforms, requiring memory to become a partner in continuing that relationship.
And finally, from Tala.
Purpose. Your life was not a waste. Meaning is found in the mundane, unnoticed acts of protection and service, fulfilling the precise function you were created for.
In Eddie's final moments of ascent, the river rises, washing his body clean of every scar, every bad memory, every speck of physical decay.
He is utterly free, floating through colors that are not just sensory, but emotional. The blue of sorrow, the yellow of light, the black of his guilt, all transmuted into peace.
He floats above the great gray ocean and sees the true reward. Ruby Pier, filled with thousands of people, all the children he kept safe over 83 years, those yet to be born, all connected to his simple, unrecognized work.
This vision confirms that his influence was vast, silent, and absolutely essential.
He is guided toward the top of the big white Ferris wheel, where a cart, gently swaying, holds a woman in a yellow dress. Marguerite. She waits for him, arms extended.
And the thousands of voices from the pier coalesce into a singular, profound word that marks his arrival.
Home.
So what does this intensely structured journey mean for you, the learner? We've analyzed how one man's ordinary localized existence was revealed to be a powerful, interwoven nexus of destiny, tragedy, and redemption.
He died fulfilling the very purpose he spent his life agonizing over.
And here's where the narrative extends beyond Eddie's personal peace, offering a truly provocative closing thought about the nature of eternal connection.
Though Eddie's story is complete, the cycle doesn't end.
The sources reveal that the little girl Eddie saved, Amy, or Annie, has a full life ahead of her. She will live, love, age, and die naturally.
And when her time comes, a line will be waiting for her. There is now a line of 5 people, including Eddie, waiting in the Stardust Band shell, ready to meet her, just as they met him.
And they will be there to share the final secret of heaven. That secret is the ultimate truth of the source material, that Each affects the other, and the other affects the next, and the world is full of stories, but the stories are all one.
It's a powerful realization that your journey, no matter how isolated it feels in the moment, is never about solitude. It's about maintaining an endless, profound, and often invisible chain of connection.
Understanding that your impact is far wider and deeper than you can ever perceive while living it, that is the ultimate takeaway of this deep dive.
Until next time, keep digging.